Lesbian Detectives. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace.
What?
Could it be a psychotic break?
know.
Or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now. Lesbian Detectives. Lesbian Detectives. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready, let's go. Pay attention to the message. I present to you the Lesbian Detectives.
This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we're here talking about missing and unsolved murders.
We are discussing cases that you have forgotten about or never even heard of.
So sit back, relax, and let's start this podcast. Welcome back to Spooky Halloween. And we are excited because we have one more episode until you guys see my grand finale episode. I really like that case because I was always told about not taking candy from strangers or go to the house of a friend that you know. And I'm like, it wasn't a lot of people we could go to though. So like I didn't understand that rule. But mama, she cut out trick-or-treating from me when I was like 7 because she started getting worried about it, even though she went with me. But I picked it back up with my daughter, so I am so excited. We have so many events this weekend for trick-or-treat, trunk-or-treat, park stuff. We have a busy weekend, guys. A busy weekend. And I love Halloween. Halloween is like my third favorite holiday.
I feel like you can let loose, be somebody else without being judged. That's what I love about Halloween. I don't like getting scared. I like the candy. I like dressing up. I just don't like getting scared.
And we're not going to tell you what we going as. It's Halloween. It's a secret. Well, our daughter, we already told you she's going as Bluey, but not our family costume. Our family costume is so adorable. It's like one of my favorite shows when I was younger, and I convinced my wife to do it. So
Same.
watch out on our social medias. You will see it on our social medias.
You have great ideas, like always, babe.
Thank God. Today's case is about a woman enjoying her retirement. Actually about to go to choir at her church for practice that she'd been on for 40 years. She looked out her window and see children running up and down her street with their costume on Halloween night. When she didn't show up for choir practice, no one thought nothing of it. When her cousin came over the next day and saw her curtains weren't open and the house looked completely dark, she got super worried. When she phoned the police, they came into the house and they saw the woman dead on her stairs. As the days of the case went, the police couldn't find anyone that wanted to hurt her, but a lot of her friends and family believed it was one of her students she talked about in the past. This is a case of Katherine Lillian Armstrong. Katherine Lillian Armstrong, but she goes by her middle name, Lillian. So I might switch from Katherine or Lillian. Was born on April the 3rd, 1893 in Wales.
Wales?
Yes.
Okay.
I went overseas. Anybody know me that my favorite place to visit is UK, London, Wales? I cannot wait till my 30th. It's between those places I want to travel to.
You know that I'm 1% Wales, according to my Ancestry.com. By the way, they are not a sponsor, but they could be if they wanted to.
Okay. She grew up in a typical middle-class family with her parents, Tom Armstrong and Sarah Ann Roberts. Katherine's early years were spent moving around from various parts of Wales and England. By the time Katherine turned 18, the family had settled in Devonport, Devon, where she began training as a student teacher. Katherine dedicated herself to education and eventually rose to the position of headmaster at Denton Road Junior School. She never married, and after her parents passed away, she continued living alone in the family home at Gold's Pick Lane in Sandiford, a district near the heart of Newcastle. Katherine had worked for years as the headmaster of Denton Road Junior School. By all accounts, she was dedicated and caring educator who deeply believed in the value of education. Her role as headmaster earned her the respect from her co-workers and her students and their families.
Wow, so she was a very powerful, respected, independent woman.
Mm-hmm. After retirement, Katherine didn't just fade into the background. She continued to live a rich, full life marked by her deep involvement in the Central Methodist Church of Northumberland Road, where she was an active member over 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a long time to go to the same church. I always have like the itch. Like who said like the 7-year itch? Mine's like the 3-year itch. I'm like, ugh. Everything I love about the church or some place I go to, I like, ugh, I have the itch. I need something new.
Oh,
It's like it's not excitement no more.
except for me.
Except for you. We've been together for like 7 years, so my itch,
7-year itch is coming up.
it's coming up.
Don't go nowhere.
Okay. One of her passions was the church choir, where she sang faithfully for decades. The church was a place where she not only worshiped, but also built social connections. On Halloween night in 1963, 6:30, some passing students saw Katherine looking out her front window of her home. However, an hour later, where the choir practice was due to start, the elderly woman had not arrived. But no one found this alarming, or they didn't go check on her at home.
Yeah, that is odd because she was like a creature of habit.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I used to go to church. I stopped. I'm not going to dive into the whole reasons why, but I know that my mother still goes.
Mm-hmm.
And if she doesn't go, like they call her and they check up on her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually like the pastor's wife that always reaches out.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I'm like, damn, like, mind your business, you know, kind of thing.
Right.
Like that's the attitude that I had.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, honestly, if they genuinely care, like it's not going to hurt that they reach out. Now, whatever you want to say, then that's on you,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But she would only miss church if it was something like an emergency. And then she got to the point where if she was going to miss one day, she would let them know ahead of time.
Right.
So they wouldn't worry.
Right.
So, I don't know.
It's like a job. Like, you didn't put your PTO in. And it's just as practice, too. She was going in for practice.
Right.
So why didn't, they went and check on her? If she was there for 40 years, over 40 years, and they didn't like, oh, let me go check on her and make sure she's okay. That's kind of
It's a red flag.
That's a red flag.
Yeah.
Like, did y'all really care about her? Because I don't know. Like, I'm close to my friends. And if I don't hear from them, I'm like, kind of creepy. A little weird. But like nowadays, I just check social media like, hey, have they been online? How they did this? If they have, I'm like, okay, they just like busy or something like that. Don't worry about it. Like my friends don't have to call me every day, but I'm still like checking in on them.
Like this Sunday, you just told me Chauncey was like, hey, Sunday's class started. Where you at? Where you at?
Right.
And she had another time and we had another time, but she was still like, where you at?
Right. I was like, girl, we're hour like in classes. But she did check on me. My friend did check on me.
She did. She's a good friend.
Right. I check on her too. So it's like weird for both of us. The following morning, about 10:30, Katherine's cousin Ida Riley dropped by the home for a visit. Ida has been after Katherine for years to move to a smaller flat, closer to where she lived. She said her home was way too big for one person. When Ida arrived, she immediately scrubbed by the fact that all the curtains was closed. This is strange for Katherine. Her routine was to wake up early, open all her curtains to let in a little light.
I'm the same way.
You very are. I hate it.
I know, and I hate when you don't let me.
Ida knocked on the door, but didn't receive an answer. Now, she was certain something was wrong, so she phoned the police.
I wonder if Ada was also there for her church. Like, did she notice, oh, she missed church, and now her windows aren't open like they should be? This was just the first time that she noticed something was off.
Well, when I read it and looked into the story, it was just that part. It didn't say that she went to church with her. It just said that she didn't open up the curtains and stuff. I mean, that also is a good cousin. Like, she's like, hold on, wait a minute. Why is her curtains not open? Why is her house look a little dark? That's good for her, as you know, that Katherine did have somebody that really like knew her schedule.
Right. And cared enough to reach out for help.
Mm-hmm. When officers arrived and forced their way in, they were faced with a sickening scene. Katherine Armstrong, in her house dress and slippers, lay dead at the front of the staircase, a nylon stocking tightly knotted around her neck, and her face and head completely covered in blood. She has been stabbed over 28 times around her face and head. In fact, nearly the entire scene was covered in blood. The investigators, they said that Katherine put up a fight for her attackers.
This sounds like vengeance, like somebody really hated her, like it was personal. To stab her that many times and do everything that they did to her, like put a sock.
It was overkill, basically.
Yes, it was.
Blood splattered the walls, indicate that the killer had been searching the rooms after the murder, perhaps looking for something valuable, although nothing appeared to be stolen.
Unless she was blackmailing somebody and they were trying to get it back.
Safer theories.
Okay, sorry.
Because I didn't think of that, but safer theories. The local police immediately launched a full-scale investigation within hours of Katherine's body had been discovered. Police who's on vacation, they put that on halt because they needed all the manpower to find the person who murdered Katherine.
Wow.
She had to be loved because nowadays, they wouldn't did that.
I would have been like, look, I already booked this cruise. I already booked my trip.
No, they said come back, solve this case.
I'd be like, I'll come back on this date, like I said.
The coroner later determined that despite the nylon stockings found around her throat, Katherine's death has not been caused by strangulation.
Wow.
So that seemed that the person just did it to make sure she was really dead.
They did it after the fact that she was dead.
Overkill.
Wow. Unless that was like their signature move, strangulation.
But I mean, if this person stabbed her over 28 times in the face, in the head, she had to be dead. Like,
you know how like the smiley face killer leaves a smiley face? What if this stocking killer leaves a stocking around the neck?
We don't know. The detectives, they was confused about the shocking violence of this crime, as well as the lack of clues and possible motive. There had been no forced entries. Katherine had not been sexually assaulted, and nothing appeared to be stolen from the resident. The investigator turned up no murder weapon, no fingerprints, no footprints. The only witnesses to see Katherine on her last day on Earth were two children who alleged seeing her peering out her window at 6:30 the previous evening.
This was really planned. This was a premeditated murder. No fingerprints, no footprints, no forced entry. That means she knew her killer.
I always wonder when I read this case, she's looking at her window like at 6:30. I wonder, was she waiting for somebody to come?
Yeah, maybe she was expecting somebody.
The local crime squad, led by an experienced detective, began combing the areas for clues. Though the police went door to door, interviewing and questioning hundreds of neighbors and locals, their effort held by no leads. They quickly realized this case would be challenging to solve. The brutality of the attack suggests an emotional, possibly personal motive.
I agree.
I agree too.
Just somebody who's experienced, in my opinion.
Very, because that crime, Jesus. The church-going former headmistress had no enemies in the world, and seemingly no one had wished harm on her. The only angle investigator could fathom was perhaps the murder had been committed by one or more perpetrators as a Halloween prank gone wrong.
Wow.
Also, They thought that a gang of teenage boys was on the prowl of neighborhoods had come to the door of her house pretending to trick or treat and then attack the elderly woman to frighten her. And maybe she fought back more viciously than anything, and the boys killed her by accident.
Nah, this was premeditated. This was planned. This was personal. This was somebody that she knew and trusted. I don't think it was just coincidental and then something went wrong.
Right. But the police did believe that it was more than one person that killed her because of the stab and also the strangulation.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. I don't see it.
Okay.
I want you to read this part what the police believe.
As forensic technology in 1963 was extremely limited compared to today, detectives had to rely heavily on witness statements and physical evidence found at the scene. They dusted for fingerprints. The murder weapon, a knife that had been used to stab Katherine repeatedly, was nowhere to be found. This further complicated the investigation, as no trace of the killer seemed to be left behind. One of the main challenges investigators faced was the lack of forced entry into Katherine's home. There were no obvious signs of a break-in, which suggested that she likely knew her killer and had willingly let them in.
This lead detective focused primarily on her friends, neighbors, and anyone who might have been close to her. However, Katherine was known to be a private woman. She had a small circle of friends. There were no immediate suspects. On the eve of November the 1st, 1963, a man called Newcastle Ambulance Control claiming to be the Sandyford murder. He gave no details and hung up before dispatch could ask any questions. While police worked to trace the call, the man's identity was never discovered, added another layer of mystery to this case. As the investigation pressed on, officers believed the murder weapon was a long-bladed instrument, likely a knife. There are no such weapons has ever been recovered. By November 3rd, the press began speculating that the killer was still hiding in the city, was though the murderer may have entered Katherine's home through the front window and left through the back. Two young men had been seen climbing a nearby roof shortly after the murder, but after questioning by the police, they were ruled out. Why was they climbing though?
All right.
There were also a speculation that Katherine's murder might have been linked to another unsolved crime in Newcastle area. In 1962, just a year before Katherine's death, another older woman was murdered in a similar brutal fashion.
I do believe it was a serial killer, somebody who had done this multiple times.
Right. The similarity in this case led some to believe that a serial killer might have been in works, preying on vulnerable older women. However, no connection between the two crimes was ever established, and the theory eventually lost traction as the years went by.
No stalking.
I couldn't find nothing on it.
There was no stalking left behind.
Katherine's case grew colder as the weeks passed, as massive effort from the law enforcement with more than 16,000 people interviewed during the investigation. Police questioned anyone who had been in the area around Gold Peak Lane that night, hoping someone had seen something or knew anything could lead police to the killer. But no leads has ever came up. The community was gripped by fear and unease knowing that someone responsible for the murder was still out there. Scotland Yard, with its reputation for solving complex crimes, was calling to assist the investigation. Detective Superintendent Eric Jock Reed of the Scotland Yard Murder Squad, known for his take charge of the case, he led his team quickly began interviewing people in the community, trying to retrace Katherine's last hours. There were more questions than answers. Katherine had been seen alive just hours before her death, but there is no clear evidence pointing to who committed the savage crime. In the years following Katherine's murder, her house remained empty for the time being. Various tenants move in and move out. In 1973, a woman named Miss Black moved into the house and reported that previous tenants had left abruptly, believing the house was haunted.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, I wonder if it's haunted. I've lived in a haunted house. I believe in it.
Okay. They claim to have sensed a presence, even claiming to see a figure out the corner of their eyes near the bottom of the stairs, the very spot where Katherine had been found. Miss Black didn't believe in ghosts, but the house did have a type of reputation. In the recent years, Sanford had become a popular area for student housing due to its proximity to Newcastle University. The hopes of answers in Katherine Armstrong murder had eventually faded away. Cold cases has often revisited with advance in science. There is always a possibility that one day new evidence will come to light. But for now, Katherine Armstrong murder remained a haunted mystery, a story reflected through the history of Newcastles. Before we end this case, let's remember the person. Katherine was a sweet woman. She was loved by her friends and family, but also her students. She loved to sing in her choir, but she was also a nonsense woman. She had a soft spot for children. She was murdered in her home, the place that she felt the safest. If you guys have anything to tell the police, please let them know, because I am praying that this case will be solved one day. And this is the case of Katherine Armstrong. Now let's get into some theories.
Let's get into some theories.
So who wanna go first? You or me?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I think that it was a serial killer, somebody who has done this before. And I feel like he targets elderly women. And this is just me thinking, right? I believe he targets elderly women because maybe his mother, like he had some kind of mother figure that made him feel less than or humiliated him in a way. I watched a movie, I can't think of the name, but it happens. A lot of them will like try and relive where they take it out on their mother.
Right. I mean, it has been a lot of Criminal Minds Law and Order episodes, so that could be a possibility. But I wonder why that 1962 murder and Katherine murder, what was so different? Because a lot of people believe that it was same one. But I always wonder, because she always lived alone. What if she met somebody during church, she got friendly, and they was trying to like take her home or trying to, take all her money. I don't know how much money she has, but trying to milk her dry like a con artist. And it went too far and she kind of fought back and he got mad and killed her.
But they never knew that she was seeing somebody or talking to someone. Right?
But I said that they said that she lived a very private life, that her circle was small, that a lot of people didn't know what was going on in her life. And it seemed like she lived a very like lonely life. She had her friends, she had her church, but people, they won't love. She never been married. She didn't have kids.
But I would think that the church people would at least know who she's seeing.
They didn't even go check on her when she didn't go to church. I mean,
what about her cousin? It looked like her cousin knew her to the T. Did she notify or tell her cousin anything about anyone she was seeing?
No.
Or was expecting that day?
No, because for her to look out the window, just think about it, she like peeking out the window. She was peeking out the window because she was waiting for somebody. She wasn't being nosy watching the kids. She was 7 years old. She really didn't want to watch them kids that much. She was looking out the window for a reason, like, oh, her man probably was coming. I'm just saying, her man. My man, my man, my man.
I think she was just a target because she was an elderly woman that was an easy target for a serial killer.
But he had to get to know her. It seemed like she was very private into herself. So he had to break down those walls to get that close because he had to get interested in the house. But police said, oh, what made me mad is like the police was like, oh, it wasn't no forced entrance. Then I'm like, oh, the person might went through the window and came out. It was too many like what ifs. We don't know what really happened. I feel like she probably did let the murderer in only because You know what? It probably was a man because I said she's supposed to went to church, but she still had on her house dress and her slippers. Why are we still having on like our sleep clothes and we about to go to church?
Well, no, actually.
She was found in a house dress and slippers.
Yeah, but if you have a man over, you're trying to look good. You wouldn't be in your house dress.
I mean, what if that was her sexy outfit? We don't know. She was 7 years old.
I guess we have to know what the definition of house dress is.
Right. I mean, it was back in like the 1963s. I mean, it wasn't like no lingerie like it is now. It probably was like, did they have, I don't know, was it silk? I don't know back then.
But I don't know. She would strike me as somebody who's very disciplined. If you know that you have church at this time, why are you meeting a man?
Because her man, how it was called, said, I want to see you. He probably said, I want to see you before you go to church. And she probably want a little nookie before church, you know?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, she still had her house dress on. And she supposedly went to church an hour later.
I don't feel like she was expecting anybody. Somebody just came at her door, was probably trying to sell her something or trying to show her something, get to know her.
But back in then, that was not modest. Open your door with your house dress on. That wasn't modest. I know a lot back then, guys. I really was. I told you, I like over there in England as well.
She was probably trying not to be rude.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel like it was anything that she did. I think it was just.
I mean, she opened the door and she let the person in. Or they probably knocked and she probably thought it was a kid getting candy because it also was Halloween. We also got to remember that it was Halloween. So she but I mean, will she open the door for a house dress to get some candy though? But I'm always stuck on the house dress and slippers because they saw her at 6:30 and an hour later she's supposed to be in a church for choir. I don't know about you guys, but like I do get like ready an hour or hour and a half before I have to go somewhere. Well, longer now because I have a child. I just like weird that she still had her house dress on because if she was finna go to church, she probably would start getting ready. Because she was found on her stairs, I wanted it start up. What if he was already in the home? I mean, did we even think of that he was already there when she peeked out her window?
Well, that's what the police believe, that the perpetrator came in through one window. And
well, her man was already there. That's why she had her house dress on and her slippers on because she was 70. I mean, you know, she probably wants some nookie time. So he was already there. That's why she had her house dress, her slippers on. What if he was like asking for more money and she got mad? She's like, no, you're not getting another dime out of me. And they started talking. She went down the stairs and that's when he started like stabbing her. So what if she did fall down the steps? I wonder, because she was like at the end of her steps. I wonder if she fell. They were like talking in the, beginning and she fell or he pushed her and he got mad, started stabbing her. And then he tried to choke her out, but she was already dead.
But why would he come in through the front window and leave out the
window? Well, they don't know. They don't know if the window. They just assume that the person did. We don't know how the person got in. Because the police said, oh, it was no forced entry. She let the person in. Then they'll say, no, I think they went through the front window. They don't really know.
And that's the thing about it too. Back in the day, I don't know, people used to leave their doors unlocked. Mm-hmm. So what if the perpetrator just came in
and surprised her when she was going up the stairs to get ready for church?
Yeah, and that's probably why she wasn't dressed.
Okay, I can see that theory. I don't know. But the person did call. He called after the murder a day later. I wonder if he was questioning. He was like, man, I felt guilty. What if it wasn't a serial killer? Because a serial killer a serial killer would call and be like, oh, blah, 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 I did it. Like they will want it to people to know. But this person called and didn't he just said I committed the murder and then hang up. I wonder if his conscience started messing with him.
I don't know. I still think it was a serial killer because they left no evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who has done this a couple times, and I feel like they wanted them to know who it was without really giving them everything.
I wonder if they can look into it now. What if they really did have fingerprints? Because they said no fingerprints or footprints. I mean, could they be that good in the 1963s? Because, 1963s, they don't really have the technology. They really not looking for fingerprints and footprints like we are nowadays. I wonder if they just didn't have the technology to see. Because you said there was no fingerprints. How did you know? Because her cousin came, her friends was over her house, she was there. How did you know who fingerprints was who?
Right.
That's the weirdest part. Did you check the doorknob? The doorknob can tell you a lot.
Right.
Did you check the staircase? Did you really check? I mean, 1963, were they really checking like how they would check now?
Probably not.
I mean, that's a question. This case was a doozy. But I hope our fans overseas really like it, because let me tell you something. I am obsessed with UK. I want to go to London for my 30th birthday. I have 2 more years. Hopefully I can convince my wife in 2 years to take me, because I did look at the plane tickets. That was a wowsy. And also how long the flight would be. It's like 15 hours. I'm like, gosh, I'm going to take should be like 3 or 4 around the time.
I think if you go, you wouldn't come back.
I wouldn't come back, guys. I'm obsessed with London, and she knows it. I love it.
And she's a sucker for y'all's accents.
I am.
I feel like she's going to find a new love over there.
I probably just stay. One of the fans probably let me stay with them. But this is our episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys like it. If you heard this case before, please slide into my DMs or get in the comments. Tell us what you believe that happened. Please follow us on all social medias. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, everywhere that you listen to our podcast. Follow us. And also hit that notification button so you know when an episode has hit. I love you guys. Thank you. We've been doing this for a couple months, and all your views and likes and follows have helped us keep going and keep pushing. I started this podcast because my grandmama, she found my love of true crime as a baby. So please, guys, help us grow even more. Give us some advice. Tell us what we're doing wrong in the email. I'm going to read it. I will read it. Trust me. Some people, they email me to them. I'm like, okay, thank you for the advice. I'll see you next time. Our episode will actually hit on Halloween Day next week. I hope you guys like it. I heard this case before, and I'm like, if I have a podcast, I have to tell this story. It is a soft case, so be a little different from what we usually do. We'll still have a little theories, even though it's soft, but can't wait for you guys to hear it. And I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And this is Lesbian Detective. Always remember that everybody's a suspect
until proven innocent.
And we are signing out, and see you on Halloween.
Lesbian Detectives. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now. Lesbian Detectives. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready, let's go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, the Lesbian Detectives.